Tashdile and welcome to Tibet This Week. This is Sakina Bhatt with another edition of Weekly News on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines first. Time magazine features His Holiness the Dalai Lama on its cover page for the third time. Botswana's former president, MPs from 10 countries, attended the 60th Tibetan National Uprising Day at Dharamshala. Dundub Wangchen and Tibet delegation at UN side event. Freedom in Tibet hinges on freedom in China. Chinese intellectual delegation at CTA. Time American Weekly magazine and news website released an exclusive article featuring His Holiness the Dalai Lama in conversation with Shanghai-based correspondent Charlie Campbell and photographer Ruben Efenader for 18 March US edition on Thursday last week. The cover page is entitled as "The Survivor for 60 Years, the Dalai Lama has been the face of Buddhism, China has another plan." His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has been on the cover of Time magazine for the third time. Botswana's former president, His Eminence Dr. Seretse Khama in Khama, the high-level parliamentary delegations from 10 countries and Chinese intellectuals from across the world visited Dharamshala to attend the 60th Tibetan National Uprising Day. His Eminence Dr. Seretse Khama in Khama, as the chief guest of the event, lauded the unrelenting resilience of the Tibetan people.
Our own presence here today is testament to the fact that while the March 10 patriots were physically defeated, the spiritual struggle for a free Tibet lives on in the hearts and minds, not only of Tibetans at home and in exile, but also among growing numbers within the international community.
You have come from other countries, but for me, you don't belong to other countries. The great sage, Rishi of Veda, they said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole universe is one family, one family. You are from my family or world community. I welcome you here.
On this very day in 1959, the Tibetan people rose up against the occupying Chinese army. With their fists raised in the air, our brothers and sisters marched together to make it clear that the land of snow is a Tibetan territory.
After the event, His Eminence Dr. Seretse Khama in Khama, along with former Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh and the high-level parliamentary delegation, also had an audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Similarly, the Swiss Parliamentary Group for Tibet has released a statement on the occasion showing their continued support for the non-violent Tibetan struggle. In Australia's capital city, Canberra, MP Michael Danby addressed the 10th March commemoration. Speaker of the US Congress, Honorable Nancy Pelosi, released a statement on this day. On this important anniversary, we must renew the unbreakable bonds of friendship between the Tibetan people and the United States. At the ongoing 40th session of the UN Human Rights Council, Dundub Wangchen and a Tibetan delegation led a side event to uncover China's 60 years of gross human rights violation in Tibet on Wednesday this week. Dundub was sentenced to a 6-year arbitrary sentence by the Chinese courts after he made a documentary called "Leaving Fear Behind" about the real situation inside Tibet just before the 2008 Beijing Olympics. We wanted to bring out the realities of the situation in Tibet to the international community. We wanted the world to see what Tibetans think about their own conditions within Tibet, he said. Tinde Chuki from the Central Tibetan Administration's UN and Human Rights desks expressed serious concerns that it has been 25 years since the Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion and Beliefs last visit to Tibet. The UN Human Rights Council should not allow China to deteriorate the UPR process by stating such blatant lies about the conditions in Tibet and ensure that there is freedom of religion and belief in its true sense, not with Chinese characteristics, said Chuki. In his conclusion, Wangchen appealed for the continued support from the international community. A 5-member Chinese delegation representing the Sino-Tibet Study Group Federation for Democratic China and Citizen Power Initiatives for China addressed the officials of Central Tibetan administrations in Dharamshala on Tuesday this week. In their remarks, the delegation led by Jinjin Xiaowei Jinjatan, Shang Xue and Wang Shuali echoed the message of hope and support with the Tibetan freedom movement.
You send so many Chinese into Tibet, and one Tibet around by 10 Chinese against their will. You send so-called civilization there. They didn't like, they feel uncomfortable. You did so much thing against their will.
1.4, maybe 5 billion of Chinese people are the most powerful weapon of the Chinese Communist Party, because the 1.4 or 5 billion people doesn't have freedom, doesn't have human rights, doesn't have any ability for their own will, and they are controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, and they are used by the Chinese regime.
This is the end of this bulletin of Tibet This Week. See you next time and have a great weekend.